This program is proudly sponsored by Nowicki Carbone Personal Injury Lawyers. Welcome to Conflict of Interest. This evening it's Sophie Black and I'm Peter Farris. We're going to discuss China and in particular Kevin Rudd and his Labor government's association with China, which we've seen in the last few weeks to be very close. Sophie, there's a rumour going around that Kevin Rudd's real name's Kevin Chang. Have you heard anything about that?
Well,
he's a Chinese spy?
I think up until now that wouldn't be a bad thing. I think up until the last couple of weeks, Kevin Rudd has really traded off his close ties with China. If you can think back to APEC when he was then opposition leader, you remember he completely upstaged John Howard by speaking in fluent Mandarin, and immediately after that I think he got an 8% bounce in the polls, but to be the most making him the most popular opposition leader in history, since the history of that particular poll.
And is he the only person outside China that can speak Mandarin? Is that how it works?
No, he's not, but you've got to admit it was a pretty impressive sight.
But what's it matter?
Well,
whether he speaks Mandarin or not?
Given that China is a rising superpower and is one of our major trading powers.
And is the major military interest in our area.
Naturally, that was seen as something that could benefit us, a Prime Minister with such close ties to China. Now, in the last couple of weeks,
give him close ties to China.
No, but given that he was a diplomat posted in China and he has several links with different Chinese business people.
Well, is he a Chinese spy? Is it too much Chinese penetration?
I don't think you can have too much at this stage, although politically in the last couple of weeks, the opposition have tried that tack. They've tried to suggest that this is a negative, suspicious association.
The Minister for Defence seems to have told a number of interesting stories, doesn't he?
Well, there are a number of different factors that happened in the last couple of weeks, and one of them was that Defence Minister Joel Fitzgibbon, the Age, revealed that there was allegedly an internal investigation going on within the Defence.
Not to be true.
Within the Defence Department, exactly.
Well, he criticised his own department for that investigation, so he accepted it as a fact. Yes, well, and now
it's
not a fact.
But that was the initial sort of trigger that meant that this Helen Liu, who Joel Fitzgibbon has this connection with, is an old family friend. And
a woman,
a Chinese businesswoman, which was how she was described.
Unmarried.
She's actually an Australian citizen, but we called her a Chinese businesswoman in the media.
And she's very wealthy.
She's very wealthy.
And one Christmas day, he went to China.
Boxing
Day, he went to China with her.
And it turns out she funded 3 trips, which
she funded this Christmas trip.
Yes, and he did not disclose.
And he left his wife and children at home.
He did.
And he couldn't remember that he'd been there.
No, he later declared the trip, but
he couldn't remember
that he hadn't registered.
But he told the media that there was nothing like that.
Well,
a few presents and things.
Yes,
isn't
but
that
the
a
question.
lie?
Well, the question was whether or not.
If it was John Howard, you'd say it was a lie, wouldn't you?
Well, you would. He clearly was in the wrong in this instance. He should have declared the trips. He should have declared it.
But he was lying when he said there was nothing else.
Yes, and there's nothing to defend there.
Well, why was it? But
then the focus moved away from that.
No, I'm asking you why he lied. People lie for a reason, and he's lied because he's got a Chinese association he wants to cover up. Well, isn't that a bit worrying when you've got the Defence Minister trying to cover up a close personal link with China, and you have a fluent Mandarin-speaking Chinese Prime Minister who's trying to ingratiate himself with China? Isn't this too much Chinese penetration?
Why?
Well, it's too much penetration into our government. I mean, it's all very well dealing with China, but we don't actually want them penetrating into our government, do we?
How do you mean penetrating into our government, though?
Well, having influence over our ministers, the Prime Minister and the Minister for Defence. And I mean, this isn't very secure, is it?
Well, I don't think that they have loose lips when it comes to national security,
Well,
if that's what you're suggesting.
Well, why
I think it's only in Australia's interest to shore up our links with China, given that they are one of our major trading partners, and especially during the global downturn, we need China more than ever. I mean,
okay, but you're a lefty. He's backed off on Tibet. Where's Tibet?
He has backed off, and there is a line of hypocrisy here.
Encouraging for you?
Well,
I mean, you couldn't be happy about that.
I think Kevin Rudd initially also traded off his knowledge of Mandarin and his knowledge of Chinese cultural sensitivities when he brought up the issue of Tibet when he was there.
But he's dropped it dead.
He has dropped it dead, as have the rest of the world.
You were going to say that was hypocrisy, were you?
Well, yes, there is a hypocrisy there, but that's been lost in this discussion. In all of this discussion,
no one's asking the question
there's this very weird,
strange
suggestion.
Tibet?
Well, Tibet really has nothing to do with it at this point.
China.
If we're talking about why are we suspicious of these Chinese links?
Because China is a very powerful nation which tries to get into the governments of all the countries it wants to access by different means. It's got one of the most powerful secret services, and it uses all sorts of money, honeypots, tricks, associations, blackmail, everything it can. It's very, very effective.
I think the media have also been focusing on the fact that Kevin Rudd met with Chinese dignitaries.
Well, they weren't dignitaries, they were security, the head of the security forces.
Yes, and that this visit was not publicised, but it was reported in the Chinese media, so that was not a good look for the government.
No, well, so we've got secrecy, we've got lies, we've got hypocrisy. They've left Tibet, they've just dumped Tibet. None of this is very good. These are the people you think are fantastic. I don't understand.
I'm not saying they're fantastic, but I'm saying we do need to maintain a strong relationship with them and a close relationship with them.
But not one where we're on our knees.
I think to suggest that Joel Fitzgibbon's links with this suspicious Chinese businesswoman, when there is absolutely no evidence that she's any kind of spy, is to stir up this, what some people have said, to conjure up that idea of the yellow peril again.
This has got nothing to do with race.
Well, the opposition,
we've got a huge number of Chinese in this country.
The opposition has been running this line that Kevin Rudd is now doing China's bidding. In that he's trying to, given that he's trying to shore up their position within the IMF.
Yes, and he is.
That he is somehow some lackey for China, which really...
He's a PR man for China. Well, why is that? Why is he doing that?
We need to ask why the opposition is throwing out these sort of hints.
Like,
what are they playing at? What's their internal polling suggesting?
This has got nothing to do with racism. You know that as well as I do. Right? We've got a huge Chinese population here. They're very well accepted, and there's no problem with racism in China and Australia. I just think that's nonsense.
But would we be making such a fuss if Joel Fitzgibbon had close links with an American businesswoman?
Well, you would be.
And given that she would be an Australian citizen who happened to come from America, would we still even call her an American businesswoman?
You would be thumping the table tonight complaining bitterly about it. There's the hypocrisy. Do we have to wind up now?
I think we'll come back and we'll talk with Dennis Woodward from the Monash University. He's an expert in these issues, and so let's throw to him after the break.